Hello, is it audible? Yes, perfect. I'm really sorry about that. So let's go back to the slide and get started from the beginning. So, what is analytics? Analytics is a systematic computational analysis of data or statistics. It is used for the discovery, interpretation, and communication of meaningful patterns in the data. When you have huge amount of data and if you would like to derive some insightful information based on that, then analytics play a key role in that. Analytics is the process of mining the raw data, which in turn gets converted into visualization. The visualization can be in the form of charts, KPI widgets, pivot tables, dashboards, and lots more. Based on these visualization, we can derive some insightful information, which in turn will help us to make a better data-driven decision. Now, let's move on and see why one should go for Zoho Analytics. Who we are. Zoho Analytics is a cloud based business intelligence tool which offers analytical solution. Zoho Analytics has been there in the market for more than a decade and we are one of the pioneers in the BI space. Currently, Zoho Analytics has got more than 2 million plus active users and among which we have 6,000 plus paying customers. Our customers are situated across the globe around 80 different countries. For the good work that we have been doing so far, Zoho Analytics has been awarded by some of the top software reviewers platforms such as TrustRadius, GetApp, and DataCrowd. We are also been awarded by the BARC and the BI survey. Now, let's move on and discuss about Zoho Analytics features. Zoho Analytics comprises of three key features. The first feature is import, that is getting the data into Zoho Analytics platform. Zoho Analytics allows you to import data from a wide range of data sources. Your data might be across a wide range of data source, and the first and the foremost step here is to bring in the data into analytics platform. The second feature is about creating reports and dashboards. In Zoho Analytics, we support a different type, that is around 20 to 30 types of charts, KPI widgets, and dashboards. The third feature is collaborating with your end user. After having created the required reports and dashboards, how to share and collaborate it with your end user. Now, let's get in depth about each of these features. The first feature is import data. As you see on the screen, these are all some of the business applications with which Zoho Analytics supports direct integration. Zoho Analytics supports direct integration with Zoho applications like Zoho Books, CRM, Survey, Desk, Projects, and lots more. Apart from that, it also supports direct integration with other business applications like Stripe, QuickBooks, Shopify, Salesforce, HubSpot. Apart from this, if you have your data in any of the social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, etc. Apart from all these, if you have your data in the cloud database or in local database, even in the cloud drive, you can still import the data into analytics. Whenever you import data from any cloud-based data sources or from cloud-based business application, you can also schedule this import. So rather than manually fetching the data every time, you can completely automate this process. And whenever you import data from cloud database, local database, or any cloud-based business application, the import interval can be made as once in every 3 hours. So that is the minimum. And it goes in the range of 3, 6, 9, 12 hours, or even once in a day like that. And if you're going to import from the cloud drive or from via API, you can also make it as once in every 1 hour. The next feature which we're going to discuss is about the visualization process. So what you see on the screen is a dashboard that is created using Zoho Analytics. Dashboard is nothing but a single page viewer where you have multiple reports put together. If you look at this particular dashboard, we have multiple components put together. On the top, we have small rectangular boxes. Those are what we call it as widgets. Followed by that, we have a lot of report types. So you can see line chart, funnel chart, heat map chart, and then area chart. Along with that, you can also have some pivot tables added to this dashboard. So by the end of this session, you will all learn how to create an insightful dashboard similar to this. The next feature is sharing and collaboration. So once we have all the reports and dashboards ready on hand, the next step is to collaborate it with our end users. In Zoho Analytics, there are different ways how you can share and collaborate it with your user. The first option is to privately share a report or a dashboard with a user. So a single report can be shared with multiple people based on multiple filter criteria. So you can define the filter criteria, and also you will be able to fine grain the levels of permission for each and every user. So whether a particular user can export the report or drill down the data. So all these information can be specified when you share a report with a user. The next option is emailing a report to a user. Directly from the Zoho Analytics platform, it is possible to email the reports to the end user. And when you do this, you can also schedule this process. So rather than sending a report manually every time, you can set up a schedule for a daily report or weekly or monthly report. And more importantly, you can also specify the time zone in which a particular person belongs to. So accordingly, the reports will get emailed to the end user. The third option is embedding the reports in a web page or a blog. So if you run a blog or you have a web page where you want to put up these beautiful or insightful reports, then using the iframe which Zoho Analytics generates for each and every report, you can embed it. The last option is exporting the reports in different form. Zoho Analytics allows you to export the reports in different forms such as image, CSV, HTML, PDF, and lots more. The export option varies according to the type of report that you're going to export. Having talked about some of the key features, now let's get into the advanced features. Zoho Analytics provides you an option to create some powerful formula. So it has a powerful formula engine to perform various calculations over your data. Also, it enables you to derive business specific metric or insights from complex data, and this helps you to visualize them as a useful report. Zoho Analytics Formula Engine also offers you with a rich set of inbuilt functions to help you to bring your own metric through formulas, which in turn will help you to meet your specific analytical need. Adding to this, Zoho Analytics also allows you to create query tables. So we support SQL query using which you can create any kind of report. You can also combine the data across multiple data sources or multiple tables and create some insightful reports with the help of SQL queries. And there are a lot of SQL functions that are supported at the moment. We'll see all this when we get into the demonstration part. The next important feature which we are going to discuss now is about forecasting. Forecasting is a technique that uses historical data as inputs to make informed estimates that are predictive in determining the direction of future trends. In Zoho Analytics, we offer a powerful forecasting engine which predicts the future data based on your past data trends. You can set up a forecast in a chart using a very simple setup process without even worrying about the underlying complexity. The second feature is about data alerts. In business, keeping track of changes in your KPI and metrics is a vital role to stay ahead of this curve. Data alerts in Zoho Analytics notify you of business events that you cannot afford to miss. This helps you to quickly make an informed business decisions. The third feature is Ask Zia. Ask Zia is a search driven analytical assistant that helps you to create reports instantly. You can ask questions in natural language, and the Ask Zia system answers to you more relevantly in terms of reports. So, we have trained the system in such a way that it understands the native language and it corresponds to it accordingly. The next feature is called data snapshot. So data snapshot allows you to capture and maintain historical data from a report. It periodically snapshots the data from the chosen report and stores them in a table for historical report creation and analysis. Adding to all this, Zoho Analytics also provides you with a mobile and tablet application, which is built over the iOS and Android operating system. Using the mobile application, you will be able to view the report or share the report on the go. On top of that, you can also receive some alert notification in your mobile application. Now, let's move ahead and get into the product demonstration part. So I'm going to take you to the Zoho Analytics homepage. So what you see on the screen is a Zoho Analytics homepage. Hope you all are able to see it. Okay. So before we get into the product demonstration part, I want to give you an insight about certain terminologies that we use very often in this platform. So one such terminology that we use very often is called workspaces. Workspaces are more like a folder where you have the data along with the reports and dashboards that you generate on them. For instance, if I open up this particular workspace that has Instagram data, okay, so in this workspace, I can see the data tables. All these yellow grids represent the data tables, and these are all the different reports I have generated on this data set. And these are the different dashboards. So, a workspace is a collection of data and the reports that are built over it. Whenever you want to analyze the data across multiple data sources, then you need to have all the data inputted into a single workspace, because data blending is possible only within a workspace but not across the workspaces. So we will see how to import data from multiple data sources into a workspace in the demonstration part. Now going back, in the workspaces tab, you have three different options, that is all, owned and shared. So this owned tab will have all the workspace that you have created, and shared one will list out the workspaces that are shared with you. The next tab here is a dashboards tab. As I told you earlier, dashboards are nothing but a single page viewer where you have multiple reports put together. So in this dashboards tab, you can see the list of all the dashboards irrespective of your workspace. In case you want to look for a dashboard that is specific to a particular workspace, you can click on the drop down and then you can check it out here. The third tab is a recent items tab, where you can have the recently accessed reports, dashboards, and the report tables. The last 20 items will be available under this recent items tab. Now let's get into the product demonstration part. As I told you, the first step is getting the data into analytics platform. In order to import data into analytics platform, after you log in into Zoho Analytics, on the top right, you will find an option, input your data. Once you click on this import your data option, you will land up on a screen which displays the list of business application with which you can directly integrate Zoho Analytics. So these are all some of the business applications with which we can set up a direct integration. So in case you want to set up integration with any of these business applications, all that you need to do is just click on the application name and then you have to authenticate this application. So for instance, now I'm clicking on Zoho Finance. After clicking on Zoho Finance, you can select next. In the next step, you need to authenticate Zoho Finance and Zoho Analytics. In this case, it is already authenticated, so I'm not getting that step. Whereas if you go with other application like Stripe, HubSpot, or something like that, you'll have the authentication step. So what you have to do now is, in case of Zoho Finance, we have multiple organizations set up. So you need to select the organization name, what are all the modules and the fields that you want. A biggest advantage over here is you will be able to import the custom fields and modules from your business applications. So in finance, if I create a specific module which is a customized one, or if I have any custom fields in any of the generalized module, I can still bring that information into analytics. So this is the step you need to follow to import data into analytics. And when you set up this integration, you will also have an option to set up a schedule. How often would you like to import this data? Please note that if you're in the standard, premium, or enterprise edition of Zoho Analytics, you will have the synchronization interval as once in every 3 hours, which is the minimum time. Whereas if you're in the basic edition or in the trial edition, you will have the synchronization interval as once in a day. And Unfortunately, in the free plan, you cannot set up any of these integration. So let's go back. I've already kept the data imported here. So let me open up the workspace. Okay. So this is a workspace. I've named it as all-in-one workspace. This workspace name is also customizable. You can give any name for your workspace when you're importing the data. So in this workspace, I have several folders. So this is the Explorer tab. So when you come to Explorer, you will have the list of all the folders in this workspace. You can create as many as folders that you want just to manage your reports and dashboards. So in this, I have the list of tables. So I have segregated as CRM, help desk, finance, and marketing. So you might wonder why I have so many folders. I'll tell you. So in this particular workspace, I have imported the data from multiple data sources. So I have imported data from CRM, help desk, finance, HR, and all other application that I use for my business. Because in every business, it is a combination of multiple departments. So we will have finance team, we will have CRM team, HR team, and lots more. So in my business, I organize it this way. So my business is based on selling a product. Okay. The first step here is I need to generate leads and manage them. So for that, I'm using Zoho CRM. Zoho CRM is an application which helps you in managing customers. That is a customer relationship management application. So I have leads, deals. So when a lead is getting converted, I have a deal. And then if I run a campaign, I'll have a campaign module. So all these information, I have taken it from Zoho CRM. And when a customer is going to purchase a product, obviously I need to generate a invoice. So for that, I'm using Zoho Books. So using Zoho Books, I'm generating invoice. I can also manage my inventory using Zoho Inventory. And you can have any financial transaction information that can be maintained using Zoho Finance. So that information is here. And the next thing is I use Zoho Desk as a help desk tool here. So using Zoho Desk, I manage the customers. That is, if they have any queries, they are going to raise a ticket, which is getting managed using Zoho Desk. So those information are coming under help desk folder. So the information from Zoho Desk, like the agent, tickets, what are the products, departments, all those informations are from Zoho Desk. And then for my internal team, for the HR related information, I'm using Zoho People. Then I'm also running some marketing campaign using Google Ads, which I have imported and kept it as marketing data and reports. So what I'm trying to convey from all this is you can have a single workspace with data from multiple applications. So you can create one nice dashboard which gives you a lot of information. So you don't have to juggle between the reports to know about the data in any of the departments. So likewise, you can import data from multiple sources. So I'll also tell you how to import data from multiple data sources in a single workspace. Whenever you import data from any of the data source, you will be prompted to create a workspace. So a workspace will be created. Now, if I want to create or if I want to import data from other workspace also or other data source, then what I need to do is I open up the existing workspace, click on create and then select new table or import data. The same step again. So doing this, you will be able to import the data into the same workspace. All right. So now the data is ready. The next thing which we are going to see is the structure of the data, how the data is imported and what are all the features we have in the tables. So let's open up a particular table. For instance, let's open up this accounts table. So whenever the data is getting imported from any of the data source, if there is an existing relationship, the relationship between the tables will also be imported. For instance, if I want to know the relationship between the accounts module and the other modules in my table, I can click on model diagram. So this will give me, I'm sorry, maybe I'll open the CRM. Yeah. So if I look into the model diagram, I can see how this table is related to the other tables in my workspace. The reason why I'm showing you this is more important when you want to create any report based on the data from multiple data sources, because the tables should have some kind of relationship to fetch the right result. So the next thing which we are going to see is what if the tables are not related? So in this case, it is related, but there are scenarios where the data is not related. So can I join those tables in analytics? Absolutely, yes, you can do it. There are two ways how you can get this done. I'll show you both the ways now. So for that, let's open up the data called invoice items and invoices. So those of you who are using Zoho Books, you might know about this. For those who are new to Zoho Books, I'll tell you the data that comes from Zoho Books has these many modules. There are a lot of modules. I've chosen these 6 modules. So invoice item and invoices are the two different tables. In invoice item, I will have the item related information and also the invoice related information. Whereas in the invoices module, I will only have the invoice data. So what is the invoice ID? When was it raised? What is the amount? But if I get into invoice item, I can see the further breakdown because you have an invoice which has 5 items. But I don't have the line item wise data in this invoices table, which will be there in invoice item. So now what we are going to do is we are going to see how to join these two tables because I don't have any existing relationship with invoice item. So if I open up this invoice item and look into the model diagram, I can see that it is not related to any other table. So let's see how to create a lookup now. The first way how we are going to create a lookup is using a query table. As I mentioned earlier, Zoho Analytics supports query table option. So you can click on create and select query table. So we're going to write a very simple query. I'm going to show you how to join two tables using a join statement. So if you look here, you have insert columns tab. So this is the area where we're going to write a query. Okay. Coming down, we have this insert columns tab, which will show you the list of all the tables in Zoho Analytics. So you can see the tables, and if you expand it, you can also see the fields. The second one is the insert SQL functions, which will show you the supported SQL functions. So if you want to know any information about a particular function, you can just hover the mouse and you can see the detailed information about those functions. And the third one is the executed result. So after you execute the query, the result will be shown in this executed result tab. So now, to begin any query, the first thing you have to do is write a select statement. So the first keyword is select. Then what we are going to do is we are going to pick the fields that we want in this query. So query table is nothing but a data table. Okay, so you're just joining two different tables or multiple tables and you're creating a new data table. That's it, nothing too complicated. So here, the first thing which I'm going to select here is the field which I want to add in this table. So I want to create a table which will have the invoice date, item name, quantity, and the amount. Very simple. So first thing is your item name. So item name is an invoice item. So in order to add this invoice item in the query, you just have to double click. Okay. So when you click once, you just get the table, only the column name. If you double click, you get this information twice. Or if you're finding it difficult, you can just click on the table name dot field name. That's it. Okay. And you can also give some alias name for this. So I'm going to name this as item name. That should be given within a single quotes, comma, the next field. So the next field which I'm going to include is invoice date. Invoice date is an invoices table. So click on invoices and then you can choose invoice date. And then you can give the name here. The third field which I need is the quantity. So the same step again, quantity, you can just give some title. And the last one is the amount. So click on invoice and dot total BCY. And then after including all the fields, you need to write from. So from where you're going to include all these information. From, first table name is invoice item. I'm going to join this with invoices. On what condition? So give on, and the condition comes here. The condition is there should be some common field through which you have to join. In this case, if you see, I have invoice ID in both the tables, in invoice item and also in invoices. So the same step, dot invoice ID equal to invoices dot invoice ID, and then execute this query. Okay, very simple. So we have selected all the fields and then we have given the from condition from which table we are going to pick this information. Since there are two tables, I need to join. So I'm using this keyword join. and then you have to give the condition. So for that, you're using the keyword on. So after executing this query, you can save this query table. So I want to name this as QT1. You can save this query table under any of the folder. Either you can choose a pre-existing folder, or you can also create a new folder and save this report. And then you can click on OK. So now we have this query created. So doesn't this query table look like a data table? Yes. So in case you want to create any report based on this particular query table, you can just click on plus and start creating the report. Very simple. So this way, this is one of the way how you can join the tables. The other way is very simple. Okay, you open the table, right? And then you just have to figure out the common field. So invoice ID is the common field. Just select that field, click on more, and then choose change to lookup column. After selecting this, from the drop down, you have to select the field, the table and the field with which you want to join. So in this case, it is with invoices table and invoice ID. So you can always search for the fields here, okay, and then select invoice ID, okay. Now what happens is a relationship will be established between these two tables. So click on more and select model diagram. You will see the relationship between the two tables. The two tables are joined. Okay, so the next thing which we are going to see is how to create some powerful formula on this data table. So for creating powerful formula, let me open up a table. So we are going to use the table accrual transaction. So yes, that is from books. So I'm just using all the tables from all the data sources so that you get a fair idea how the tables and the fields are used. Okay, right. Now, there are two things when it comes to formula. One is formula column and the other one is aggregate formula. Whenever you create a formula column, a new column gets added to the table which has the value calculated for each and every row in the table. And whereas in the aggregate formula, as the name suggests, it is an aggregate of a particular field. Let's see both of these how to do. So the first thing is creating a formula column. In order to create a formula column, open the table, open any data table on which you want to generate this formula, click on add and then select formula column. So this is the formula column builder. The first step is to provide some title for this formula column. So I'm going to name this as transaction amount. So this is the title for my formula. So the formula which I'm going to create is, I have my debit and credit transaction. So if there is a debit transaction, then I want to show the transaction amount as positive value. If there is a credit, I want to show it as a negative value. So this we are going to create using an if condition. So this is the area where we are going to enter the formula. Towards the right, we have two different tabs. One is the columns and other one is the functions tab. Columns tab comprises of the list of all the fields that you have in this particular table, whereas functions tab comprises of the inbuilt analytical function. So as I told you, these are all the built-in functions that are readily available for use. In case you want to find the difference between two date fields, or you want to know the last end day of a particular time period, so any such function that you want to use, you can find it from this list of functions. So you just have to hover the mouse and then you can see the description about this particular function along with the syntax. So let's start creating this formula. The first thing is if. So I'm going to enter the condition. The first condition is I want to check whether it's credit or debit. For that, I have this field called credit or debit. And then I'm going to enter if it is debit. Okay. So anything that you want to check, you have to give it within single quotes. So I want to match this criteria. It should be exactly the same how you want. Okay. And when this condition is true, if debit or credit is equal to debit, if the condition is true, I want to display the transaction amount. In case if it is false, I want to show the negative of transaction amount, because it's a amount that is going away from my account. So I want to denote it as a negative value. Okay, that's it. And after entering the formula, you can click on save. So you will have a new field added to this table, which will have the transaction amount. Okay, so let's see how it comes. Right, so this is the formula column that we created now. So wherever there is credit, if you see, I have it in negative. Wherever there is debit, it is in positive. Now, this is an amount field. Now, I want to display this in the form of a currency data type. So in order to change the data type of any field, select the field, right click, and then you can choose change data type. So instead of decimal number, you can choose currency and then click on OK. So now the data type of this field is changed from decimal to currency. The next thing what I want to do is I want to do some formatting to this particular field. To apply any formatting, the same step, right click here and then select format column. So I prefer to have all the negative values within a parenthesis. So what I can do is here the negative number display option is there where I can choose within parenthesis. In case you want to change the number of decimal places, you can do it. Unit corresponds to thousands, lakhs, millions, however you want this value to be displayed. And then you also have an option to change the currency symbol. So if you want it in pounds or INR, whatever value, you can select it from here and then click on OK. So now all the negative values will be displayed in parentheses and I have the positive values here. Right. So we saw how to create a formula column. The next thing which we are going to discuss is creating an aggregate formula. So the same step, click on add and then select aggregate formula. In aggregate formula, you also have an advantage of creating a formula based on the multiple tables. So formula column can be created only based on the data from one table, whereas aggregate formula can be created based on the data from multiple tables. Okay. So here let's give some title for this formula column. So before that, I'll tell you what formula we are going to create. So we have transaction amount, right? Now I want to find the range of transaction. So whether the transaction amount is 0 to 100 or 100 to 200 like that, I want to segregate it in different ranges. So that is the formula we are going to create. Okay, so let's begin that. And before that, I also want to mention one more thing that is about the default formulas that are present in the table. So in analytics, whenever you import data, a set of reports will be created, right? So along with that, a set of formulas will also be created. So if you open this add and select edit formula, you can see the list of pre-built formula. Okay, so these are the formula columns and these are the set of aggregate formula which are available by default. So you don't have to recreate these formulas again. Okay, so in case you want to know how a particular formula is created, you can click on edit symbol and you can have a look at the formula that is being created here. Right. Okay, let's proceed with the aggregate formula creation. So now, yes. Okay, so since I told you we can create formula based on data from two tables, I thought I can show you a formula that is creating the expense. Okay, so how to calculate expense based on the data from two different tables. Okay, let's see how to do that. So let's name this formula as expense amount. And then you can have it in currency or decimal data type, anything. Later also you can change it. This is the area where you're going to enter the formula. The same structure, okay? Towards the right, you have columns and functions. Columns comprises of the list of all the fields from the table. And if you notice here, I have two different tables listed out, right? So I can pick the fields from either of the table and create a report, create a formula. And in the functions, I have all the aggregate functions. So aggregate function corresponds to sum, max, count, all those information. Okay, coming to columns, let's start with the formula. So I'm going to start with sum if. I'm going to check the condition. Okay, the condition is in accounts, we have different types of accounts. We have expense, other expense, income, other income, all those are account types. We are going to take the value when the account type is going to be expense or other expense. Okay, so for the first thing we need to do is we have to take the account type. Account type equal to, you have to give it in quotes, so other expense. So in case you have two different values, you can also use another format, that is the value, that is the field name in. So when you use in, you can give multiple conditions. You don't have to give the criteria twice. Okay, so when the account type in or expense When these two conditions are satisfied, I want to pick the cost of goods sold. Otherwise, I'm going to make it as I'm going to take my transaction amount. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be transaction amount. If you notice here, the transaction amount is coming from table B. Okay. You have to be very careful about the comma and the braces. Okay. So that matters a lot here. If you're missing on braces, that will throw an error. Okay. Yeah. I just told you and I've made an error here. Okay. I closed it here. Right. So now if you see, formula will not be present in the table. It will be there in the edit formula option because aggregate formulas can be used only while you're creating the report. It will not be present within the table. So this is the formula that we create, calculates the expense amount. Similarly, you can create any type of formula. There is no limit on the number of formulas or reports, dashboards that you create in analytics. So till now we saw how to create formula, how to create some query tables and all that. There is one another feature called split column. So there comes a situation where you will have a field which you want to split it as two. Mostly it will happen with the name. So you will have contact owner name here, right? So the first name and last name are together. Now I want it as two different fields. What to do? You just have to click on more. Okay, first thing you have to select the field, click on more and then select split column. Here, you just need to give the column separator, how you want to split it. In this case, it's just a space. So I gave a space here. If you preview, you can see the two different values, first name and the last name. Click on apply. Now you will have two columns added to this table. In case you want to change the column name, just right click. You can rename the column name as first name and last name. So the separator could be anything in case you want to extract the domain name from an email. So after at whatever comes, you can make it as domain name. So that way also you can do. Okay. So we are done with the data modeling step where we have all the functions discussed. So we discussed formula, aggregate formula, query table, how to change the data type, format the columns and everything. The next thing which we are moving ahead is with the visualization part, the very important part. So in order to create any report in Zoho Analytics, you have to click on this create option on the top left. So once you click on this option, you get to see the different reports that you can generate. Whenever you want to create a graphical representation of your report, you can go with chart view. Pivot view are basically used for creating a customized report. Like you can design what you want as columns, what you want across the rows, everything can be defined there. Then we have summary view, tabular view, and at last dashboard view. We'll see all this one by one. Before that, I also want to tell you one more option, that is auto analysis of data. So there are two ways of generating reports in analytics. One is an auto analysis where the system can automatically generate a set of reports and dashboards based on the data and the data type of the field that you have in your tables. So if you look, these are all the auto generated reports that are created by default when I set up this integration. So there are a lot of reports that can be created. So when you set up integration with Stripe, QuickBooks, Facebook, whatever be the business application, you can run an auto analysis and the system is ready to provide you with more than 30 to 40 plus reports. Right. So that is the auto analysis function. There is another option called similar to another table. There comes a situation where you have a data table. Okay. So maybe two different organizations. For the first organization, you create multiple reports and dashboard, and you have another organization data. The data table remains in the same structure. The schema remains the same. Now, if you want to create the same set of reports for the other company also, you can make use of this similar to another table option. So what you need to do is you need to select the base table and the new table. Okay. So what happens is whatever report that you created on this table A will be created on table B also. But the very important part here is you need to maintain the same schema. The structure should be the same. If there are 5 columns there should be 5 columns there. And if it is a data type so and so, it should be the same there. So that is one point you need to note. And this gets your job easily done. Okay, now let's get into the point, that is creating reports in analytics. So first, let's focus on the chart view. To create a chart view, click on chart view option here. And in this dialog box, you need to select the base table on which you want to generate this report. So the report which I'm going to create now is transaction date wise expense and the revenue I have got. So for that, I'm going to pick my accrual transaction table and then click on OK. So this is a chart builder layout. If you notice here towards my left, I have two different tables. I just selected accrual transaction, but I can also see the data from accounts listed out here. It's because accrual transaction and accounts are already related. So all the related tables will be present towards my left pane, and towards my right pane, I have the chart builder layout. Creating reports and analytics is going to be very simple. All that you need to do is just drag and drop the fields into the X and Y axis shells and generate this report. If you notice this GIF, you can relate to what I just said. So for creating this report, that is transaction date wise expense and revenue, the first field that we would require is transaction date field. So I have my transaction date field in accrual transaction table. Just drag and drop it under X axis. The next thing that I need is my revenue. So just drag and drop revenue here and then generate. So this report gives me month on month revenue. Now, if I want to visualize expense, I can easily do that. Just drag and drop expense also under y-axis. Under y-axis, you can have multiple fields added, whereas in x-axis, you can have only one field. So this particular report gives me month on month revenue and expense. So based on this revenue and expense, I want to calculate another field called profit. So there are two ways of calculating profit. It's revenue minus expense, which I can calculate at the table level or also while creating a report. Earlier we saw how to create formula column at the table level. Now let's see how to create formula within the report builder itself. So here you have this option called add formula. You can click on that. You can give some title for this formula column. It's going to be profit, and I want this to be in currency data type. Towards my right, I have the fields that I've included in the report. So you will be able to create this formula only based on the fields that are involved in this chart. Okay, so it's revenue minus expense. Click on save. So now you will have the third field added to this report, that is profit. So we have revenue, expense, and profit, all three in the same report. The next option that I have is the filters option. So in case you want to filter this report based on any particular criteria, you can make use of this filters option. So let's ignore the current month. Okay, so I'm going to add transaction date here. Here there are three different options: actual values, seasonal, and relative. So when you go with actual value, you will have the month and year, or week and year, or quarter and year, like that. If you go with seasonal, you just have the month, week, year, only the simplified form of that. Okay, you won't have the in-depth values. And then if you go with the relative, it will let you to create the relative time frequency. So if I choose this month and if I exclude, whenever I see this report, the current month data will not be there. Okay, it moves as the date moves, so it's relative to the data. You can have multiple fields added to this filters, and then you can generate report. The second tab we have is user filters. As the name suggests, user filter will allow the end users to interact with the report. So in the filters, you can define the static filter criteria. The end user can define the criteria using this user filter option. So here again, you can have multiple fields added. So I'm going to have my transaction date here, right? So we saw how to use filters and user filter. The next thing is about the chart types. So depending upon the value that you have in the X and Y axis shelves, the type of charts get enabled. So here currently we have line chart. In case I want this information in an area chart or combination chart or something like that, I can select it from here. You might notice some of the chart types are grayed out here. It's because we need to have the corresponding value in X and Y axis. So let me choose this area chart. Okay, so this is my end report. Now on top of this, we also have few more settings that can be done to this report. On the top right, you have settings. You can click on settings. The first one is a general settings where you can provide some title for this report. So I'm going to name this as revenue versus expense versus profit. In case you want to provide any description about this particular report, you can give it here. The next one is the axis settings where you can define the X and Y axis label. Then comes the borders and colors where you can define the border and also the background color of this report. Then we have the format option. In case you want to format the values that are present in the report with regard to decimal places or the units or the currency symbol, you can do it here. Then we have legend feature. So legend feature will allow you to define the color of the report. So either you can choose it from the predefined color palettes or you can also select the color of your choice. And then we have threshold. So every business will have a threshold value. So for instance, in my business I have a threshold for expenses. So this is the expense I want to spend. Okay, I don't want to cross that limit. So looking at this report, I don't know what is my limit or how much did I spend. So rather what I can do, I can make use of this threshold feature to add a threshold line. So here you can add the reference axis. You can have it for both or you can choose any one, and you can either go with a constant value or you can give average sum or any aggregate function. In case you want to point this value towards any other field in different table, you can still do that. So I'm going with constant here. Let me enter the value. Then you can provide some title for this threshold. You can also select some color for this threshold line. So you can choose any color of your choice. Let me choose this color. Yeah. Okay. The next thing is the drill down feature. So drill down feature allows you to perform a deep dive analysis of your data set. When you look at this particular report, you have the data for each month. So starting from Feb 2019 till October 2020. But if I want to know some in-depth analysis on this data set, I can do with the help of this drill down feature. So here you can define the path. How would you like to drill down this data? Currently, we have month and year. So when I get into a particular month, I want this information across different account name. And for each account name, I want to know the transaction number. Likewise, you can define the path however you want to drill down this data. Either you can define the path and then drill down, or you can always enable allow dynamic drill down so that all the fields in the tables will be listed out and you will be free to choose any field of your choice to perform a drill down. The next option is the forecasting feature, a very important and a very interesting feature. So here you can select the field for which you want to run a forecast. I want to forecast the value for revenue. This is a space where you need to provide the forecast length. So you can give any length. In case you want to ignore the current month or the last 3 months or something like that, you can give it under ignore last. This confidence percentage will get enabled when you're doing it as a line chart. So this confidence percentage will tell you how confident you are with the value that is getting predicted. So if I choose 95% confidence, what that means is out of the 100 values that I have, 95 values will stick towards the mean. That is, they are easily correlated. Okay, so that is about the confidence percentage. And here you can select the color, how you want to represent this particular forecasted value. Click on apply. So this is my end report. You can get into the view mode and save this report. So you can drop it under the folder. Since I've already created the ZA1 folder, I'll save it there. And you can give some any title for this particular report. And then you can save this report. Okay. So now let's try to create another chart report with a different type of chart. Okay, so this time it's going to be heat map chart. So what is the report we are going to create is lead conversion by industry and source. So as I told you, I have all the data here. So I run campaigns and then I have leads coming from different industries across different lead source. Now I want to see which particular industry and through which source I'm able to make a lot of conversion. So to create this type of report, again, the same step, click on create and select chart view. But this time, base table is going to be leads because I'm going to get the information from leads. Okay, so yeah, I've chosen leads and then okay. The same step, I don't want to waste your time repeating the same thing again. I'll just tell you how to create heat map chart. So the main criteria for creating heat map chart is you need to have the aggregate function in your color shelf. So first, let's drag and drop industry under x-axis, lead source under y-axis, and what is the value you want to measure? Is it the sales or conversion? Whatever value it is, that aggregate should go under color. Okay, so this is the primary requirement for creating a heat map chart. After adding the values, you can click on generate. So you have this heat map chart ready. Now, the next thing is I want to filter this report based on certain criteria. So I want to filter it for a specific industry. So here either you can include or exclude the criteria. So I do not want pharma and service provider. So rather than selecting the rest of the fields, I can just select these two, click on the drop down and select exclude. Okay, and the same goes with the lead source also. So I don't want to see web research and trade show. I can just select them and then exclude. Okay, so this is my end report, right? The next step what we are going to do here is we are going to customize this report. So for any customization, you can straight away go to settings. The first thing is about title for this report. And the second thing is if you want to modify the values that are shown, you can modify it here. Okay, in case you don't want to see the value for X and Y axis, you can remove it. Then borders and colors. Then comes the format option where you can format the values. Legend allows you to select the color of the report. Here you can select any color of your choice. You have solid color, monochrome, gradient. You can choose anything of your choice. Then we have the drill down feature. So drill down we discussed already. So I'm just skipping this part. So I'm going to click on apply. So this is going to be my end report. In case you want to have the y-axis value also, just go to axis and then you can enable it. Okay, and then apply. That's it. So this is how you create a heat map chart. After creating this report, you can save this report and then you can store it under a folder. So till now we saw how to create a chart. The next thing which we are going to discuss is how to create a pivot view. To create a pivot view, click on create option and then select pivot view. The pivot view which we are going to create now is a financial report. So I want to create a report which gives me different informations like revenue, expense, profit, what is the DSO, DPO. For those of you who don't know what is DSO, DSO is nothing but how long it takes for your customers to pay the invoice amount, whereas DPO is something where how long will it take for you to pay to your vendors. Okay, that is DPO and DSO. So let's create that report. So one report will give me the overall statement, that is a financial statement. So you can select the base table. It's going to be accrual transaction again, and then click on OK. Creating pivot report is again going to be pretty simple. The same drag and drop interface will work here. Towards my left, I have all the fields, and towards my right, I have three different shelves, that is columns, rows, and data shelf. Whenever I drop a particular field under my column shelf, the values in that field will be displayed in terms of column headers. So now I'm dropping transaction date under columns, and when I generate, I can see the 2 years are shown as column headers. When I drop something under row shelf, that value will be shown in the form of rows. Okay, so you can also have multiple fields added under rows and columns. So currently I have year. Now I drag and drop transaction date again and choose month in year. So in a particular year for a particular month, and so on. So the next thing which we're going to do is adding some value in the data shelf. So what comes under data shelf is any numeric values or on which you want to perform some arithmetic calculation. All those information will come under data shelf. So in this case, the information that I want to add here are revenue. Let's add expense, profit, gross profit margin. So whatever you want to have it in your report, you can choose. Okay. So let me add day outstanding, day payable. Okay, and then generate. So when you add all these fields, you can also perform some arithmetic calculation here. So rather than the expense, I want to see the average expense that happened in that month. So you don't have to create a formula again. Just click on the drop down. You can choose any value of your choice. Okay. And if you want to see the percentage of total, just click here and then you can choose percentage of total. So all these functions are pre-built within the report itself. Right. The next thing here is if you want to apply any filter, you can filter it out here. So the filter which I'm going to apply is for the last 12 months. So drag and drop transaction date, go to relative filter, and then here you can specify the criteria. So it's going to be last 12 months add, and then generate. Okay. Now, in this pivot table, you also have an advantage where you can apply some conditional formatting. So conditional formatting are nothing but based on a condition, you do some formatting to the values that are present in this report. So just right click here. So wherever you want to apply the conditional formatting, just right click and then select conditional formatting. Let's give a conditional formatting for this profit amount. So any value that is greater than $200, I want to give it as green color. Anything less than that, we can make it as green. Okay, just right click, select conditional formatting. So this can be applied to any value that you have in your data shelf. It can be given on DPO, DSO, gross profit margin, or any value. Okay, just right click, conditional formatting. And unfortunately, it's not possible to apply any conditional formatting for the text values that you drop under row shelf. So that is on a roadmap, which we would release it soon. Okay, we will keep you notified once that feature is out. So for now, let's focus on this numeric values. Just give the condition, and here you can choose the background color, text color. In case you want to highlight this value with some icon, you can still do that. Okay, you can give some color for this icon also, right? And the next condition is if anything is less than 90, then I wanted to do it in red. Okay, so this is purely customizable. In case you want to have multiple ranges, you can still go with that option. So 0 to 50, 50 to 100, like that also you can give. Okay, so this is about condition formatting. And to this pivot, you can also apply some beautiful themes. On the top, you have themes option. You can click on that. You can select any colored theme of your choice. There are a lot of color themes available. You can also customize your color themes. After creating this report, you can click on save icon and then you can save this report. So I want to name this as financial report. And then you can put it under this folder. So we saw how to create a pivot table. In this pivot table, there is another interesting feature that is creating some data alerts. So data alerts will help you to be informed about what is happening in the business. It keeps you notified on the KPIs in your business. So let's try to create a alert here. All right. So for the month of November, right? So I want to create an alert whenever the profit amount is going to exceed $2,000. A notification should be triggered. So that is the condition. The month should be November. The profit should be greater than 2,000. Let's see how to do it. On the top right, you have alerts option. You can click on alert and then select create alert. The first thing is you need to provide some title for this alert. I'm going to name this as profit alert. This alert can be triggered based on several values. It could be based on the grand summary or the subtotal, that is 2019, 2020, all those are the subtotal, and the data, the individual value that you have within this report. So I'm going to choose data here. The first condition is if the month and year of transaction is going to be November 2020. The second condition is if the total profit is going to be anything greater than or equal to $2,000. And when this condition is satisfied, how often would you like to trigger this alert? So alerts can be triggered on a daily, weekly, monthly, or even hourly basis. I want to trigger this alert on a weekly basis. So I'm going to select weekly. Here you can select on which day of the week you want to trigger this alert. I want to trigger it on every Monday. So, okay, every Monday at 10 o'clock, I want the system to come and check for the condition. If the condition is met, then trigger an alert. And how do you want to trigger this alert? There are 5 different ways how it can be triggered. The first option is sending it as an email. You can also customize the message and also include the report in the email. The second option is receiving it as an in-app notification. As I mentioned, in Zoho Analytics mobile and tablet application, you can receive it as a notification. Then you have an option to post it as a Slack message, Teams message, and also as a webhook request. So you can choose all the 5 ways, or you can choose whichever you want. And more importantly, for a single report, you can trigger multiple alerts to different people. Okay, so this is all about pivot view. The next feature or the next type of report generation is going to be using Ask Zia. So Ask Zia is an artificial intelligence and machine learning tool. You will be able to locate Ask Zia towards the left pane. Okay, just below this you have Ask Zia. So this is an AI tool where you can type in the questions or you can voice out the question, and the system will automatically generate the reports based on that. Okay, so here I'm just going to type in the question. Let's tell Zia, show deal value, okay, across stage. So when you start typing it, you get to see the values that are displayed. So if it is ST stage, I get to see status, stage, and all those along with the table name. You have the flexibility of choosing from which table you want this particular field. Okay, after selecting it, you can also tell what you want to create. I want to create it as a funnel chart. So show deal value across stages as funnel chart. Very simple, right? Rather than dragging and dropping, Zia helps you to create this report in a very easy way. So either you can type in the question or you can also interact with Zia with the help of this voice option. After creating this report, in case you want to modify the type of report or color of the report, you can click on edit and then you can modify this report. And if this is all fine, you can click on save and then save this report. In case you want to train the Zia system, you can still do it. So to train the Zia system, you can click on Ask Zia settings. So training is nothing but, I'll show you. Maybe let's open this stage. Okay, so I have pre-trained the system. So whenever I type level, status, pipeline, it all corresponds to stage. So if you have any other word through which you want to mention stage, you can do it. Maybe stages or the statuses or levels or something like that, you can enter it here. So what happens is when you type that word, Zia will understand that you're denoting this stage. Okay, and here you can also give the priority. So how much priority you want to give for these words to this particular field, and what function would you like to apply. So by default, I want to make it as count or the default value. Likewise, you can train the system. Okay, so the next step which we are going to step in is about creating an insightful dashboard based on all these reports. Okay, before that, I forgot one more point, that is creating a snapshot. So snapshot is a very important tool when you're dealing with stage-wise information, or some, if you want to derive some patterns based on the historical data. Okay, so let's see how to create a snapshot. So to create a snapshot, the first and the primary requirement is you need to have a report, because snapshots can be created only on a report. Okay, so the first, let's create that report and then I'll tell you how to create that snapshot table. So what we are going to snapshot for today's session is, we have leads and different status, right? So I want to capture the information of my lead ID and the stage in which they are. So basically, my snapshot table will have date-wise lead ID and the stage. So after some days, if I create a report, I will be able to see what are all the different stages my lead went through and how much time did it take from one stage to another, based on which I will be able to make some decision. So that is the whole idea here. So let's create a report. So let's make it very simple. We'll go with the pivot view itself. You can choose lead and then OK. So whatever information you want to have it in the snapshot table, just add only that. Okay, let's not add some unnecessary information, make it more complicated. So whatever you want, you add that. So in the leads table, the first thing that I need is my lead ID. Here by default, it will be range. You choose dimension, okay, so that you get all the lead ID listed out. The next thing is the lead status. Okay, under each status, I get the lead ID. And the more important thing is the created time. So you can choose date and time. And then here you go. You can also customize it even more, like month and year and then time and so on. Okay. So very simple report, right? So you can save this report here. Lead wise status snapshot. And then you can save this report. So we have the report ready. Now on this report, I'm going to run a snapshot. To create a snapshot, click on create option, select new table or import data. Here you have to select snapshot. So you can select data snapshot. The first step is you need to provide some title for this snapshot table, and you have to select the view. View is nothing but the report, okay? Okay, I'm just going to search. just forgot what name I gave. Okay. Yeah, lead wise status snapshot. And here you can define the interval. How often would you like this system to take a snapshot, whether it's an hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. So if you want, you can choose daily also or a weekly, right? And on which day, at what time you want the system to take a snapshot of this table. In case you want to retain only the last 7 days or 30 days, you can choose it. Or if you want to retain all the data, just choose all snapshot. So I want to have only the last 30 days information. Click on create. Now, what happens is in your workspace, you will have a new table called lead snapshot. Okay. So since I've chosen weekly snapshot, only during the next week, I'll have the snapshot result. But if I want it immediately, I can go to data sources and then I can run my snapshot. Okay. So what happens is I can see the table loaded with the data. So this is how the snapshot table will look like. You will have a snapshot ID. Every time a snapshot happens, a snapshot ID is generated and also the time at which the snapshot is taken. So all this information will be here. Perfect. So this is how the snapshot is done. Next, let's move on to the dashboard creation. So to create a dashboard, click on create and choose dashboard here. This is the dashboard builder layout. Towards my left, I have all the reports. So when you created a report, you had all the fields, but while creating a dashboard, you will have all the reports here. All that you need to do is just drag and drop the reports into your dashboard layout. Okay, so let's try to create a very interactive and a very insightful dashboard. I want to have the data from multiple departments in this dashboard. Okay, so the first thing which I need in my dashboard is the total number of deals I have won for this particular quarter. So you can have that as a KPI. So that is one of the KPI I want to have it in my dashboard. To add any KPI or metrics, you can make use of this widget option. Click on add widget. You get to see 9 different widget templates. The first 2 row of widget template will allow you to compare the value against a particular time period. So if I want to compare the total deal that I won for this quarter versus the previous quarter, or this quarter versus the previous quarter versus the previous and the one before that. So something like that, you can choose the corresponding comparative widget type. So I'm going to compare this quarter versus previous quarter. So I'm choosing this middle sample. In the data column, you have to select what value would you like to compare. In this case, it is going to be the number of deals won. So I can choose one deals count. In the group by, I can select quarter and year. Okay. So if you go to settings, you get the widget. You can customize this widget a little more. You can give some title. In case you want to have some colors added to this particular widget, you can make use of this option and add a color. You can also customize the color of the text. So whatever you have in this particular widget is completely customizable. Okay, and then you can add it to this dashboard. The next widget I want to have here is about the acquisition amount. So I have won these many deals. Okay. So what is the amount that I spent, or is the average amount I spent in acquiring each deal? So for that, click on add widget again. This time, let's try to create a bullet chart. Okay. So bullet chart is nothing but a target based widget. So you have a target amount and you can see how much you have spent so far. So here in the data column, you will be choosing acquisition amount. So that is something I have already calculated. So average deal acquisition amount, and I can filter this information for a particular quarter. Here, if you notice, whenever you select any chart type widget, you can also specify the metric. What is going to be your target? What is going to be your maximum? So in this case, the target is $400 and the maximum is going to be 500. So this is the amount I want to spend, the acquisition amount, the maximum amount I want to spend for acquiring a deal. Okay. So if you notice here, you can see the maximum amount and this is the target amount. So you can modify this widget name, acquisition amount. And you can highlight it in any color. So you can choose any color of your choice. You can always create a palette with your own specified colors so that you can use them directly whenever you want to created. And here you can also adjust the bandwidth of this values, okay? And in case you want to define any ranges, like if I'm somewhere in the 25% range or 50% range, I want it to be highlighted in different colors. So it's for my easy monitoring, okay? This is completely optional. If you want, you can add or you can just skip it out. Okay, so here I'm giving it and then apply. So this is my second widget. And the third widget which I want to create is focused on financial data, okay? Right. So we have one from CRM, this is from marketing. Now let's have a widget from finance. So let's have a widget which talks about the revenue, which is a very important thing in any business. So let's choose a widget type. Then you can choose a revenue amount. So you can have any number of widgets and reports added to the dashboard, but as a rule of thumb, it's always preferred to have not more than 8 to 10 data points. That is, when you have too much of information, the dashboard will look so clumsy and you don't know what to focus. So you can have multiple dashboard focusing on different things also. Okay. Oh, I'm facing some issue. And then you can again group it by quarter and year. So this is completely optional. It could be month on month, quarter and quarter. So I'm just making it as quarter for all the value. And you can also switch between the type of widget. So I get a comparative value here. Okay. So, and if you notice here, I have latest and previous. So this can also be changed as what you want to compare it with. Whether you want to compare it, the latest versus previous in the sense latest is the current month, that is the current quarter, previous is the previous quarter. Or if you want to compare with the percentage of difference from the previous quarter, so that value can also be customized here. Okay. And here you can enter the title. You can give some color. You can choose any color of your choice. So I'm just going with this color. You can edit the text color, right? And then you can add it to this dashboard. And the next widget which we are going to create is about the tickets, because we are also having desk information here. So I want to see the what is the total number of tickets I've received in a particular quarter. So you can click on data column. This time it's going to be ticket ID count. So you can choose ID and then it's going to be ticket ID count. Since you have the search option, you don't have to scroll down to figure it out. You can just start searching and you will get it. Okay. So this is the total tickets in. And you can give some background color here again. So you can choose any color. And then add it to this dashboard. Perfect. So we have all the required information here. The next thing is adding to these key widgets. You can also have some reports added to this dashboard. You can adjust this and fill it out. Perfect. So now the next thing what we're going to do is adding some reports. So just drag and drop the reports into the dashboard layout. Okay, you can add the reports in any order and any manner that you want. So there is no specific uh, rule of thumb like you should add it this way or that way. You can just keep adding it and then yeah. So I'm just adding some random reports. Okay, so basically all these will convey a story. So let's see what story is that. Okay, just a drag and drop. You can place them. So these are nothing but the reports that we created. So some of them I have already created and kept. The rest we created. Okay, so I'm just adding all those. Perfect. And you can also have some text box added to this widget. So if you want to give some title for this widget or something like that, sorry, title for this dashboard, you can make use of this text box. Or if you want to provide some text notes with regard to a particular dashboard or any HTML codes which you would like to include in this dashboard, you can make use of this text box. And this can be added, just a drag and drop. Okay. And top of this, a very important feature here is adding a user filter. Earlier, we saw a report where we added a user filter. But when it comes to dashboard, it is a collection of multiple reports. You have reports across different data source and everything. So it is not possible for me to go and apply the filter criteria to each and every report individually. Rather, I have a user filter at the dashboard level, and whenever I select a user filter at the dashboard level, all the reports in my dashboard will get filtered accordingly. So here I want to have, you can have a timeline filter, lead source, potential owner, industry. So whatever value that you want, you can add it here. And after adding this, you can also do a column mapping here, because in one of the table it is potential owner, but maybe in another table it's called as deal owner. So here, using this option, you will be able to map it. So I can add owner, because I have deal owner in this table, contact owner, account owner. So whichever value represents this, you can map it. So in case I have created a report with deal owner in one of the report, this filter will get applied there also. So that is the whole purpose of adding this. Okay. So same goes with the time also. So it could be for the lead created time or the ticket created time. So when I choose a particular date field, it corresponds to all these fields. So that is what it means about column mapping. And after having created all this, you can also apply some beautiful themes to this dashboard. You can give any colored themes. Either you can go with dark color themes or light color themes of your choice. And then you can save this dashboard. So I want to name this as final dashboard. All right. So we are done with the visualization part. So we created different reports, different charts, and then we added them to a dashboard finally. We are left with one last step and a very important step, that is about the sharing option. So what are all the different ways how I can share this report with the user? The first and the foremost option is exporting the report in different ways. So each and every report can be exported as HTML, PDF, image, and lots more. The second option is sharing a view privately with a user. Okay, so just notice here we have all the potential owner information. Okay, now I'm going to share this report only with David Love. So let's see how to do it. I want to ensure he sees only his information, not other potential owners information. So to do that, click on share and select share this view option. The first step is you need to enter the email ID of the person with whom you would like to send this report. Then in the apply permissions and filter criteria, you have to specify what levels of permission this user is going to get, whether he is allowed to export the data or view the underlying data or drill down the data. In case if he is allowed to drill down the data, what are all the fields he is allowed to drill down? So you will be able to customize each and everything here. And then comes the filter criteria where I'm going to enter the name. Okay, so it's going to be potential owner equal to David Love. Now, when I get into the preview mode, I should see the data only for David Love, and it should not have the data for any other potential owner. Okay? So this is the data only for David Love. Similarly, you can share a single report or a dashboard with multiple people by passing criteria like this. So this is one way of sharing the report. The other way is you can also create it like a variable. So to create a variable, let's come to that part later. Okay, so before that, I'll cover the other sharing option. Okay, so that is one way of sharing. The next one is about emailing the reports with the user. So you can send this report as a PDF or HTML. And when you email this report, all that you need to do is just enter the email ID of the person. Then you can also schedule this email. So if it is going to be a weekly email, I can choose on which day of the week, at what time I want this report to be sent, in which time zone. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at 12 o'clock, this report is going to be emailed to this person in IST time zone. And the next option is generating an iframe for this report. So in case you want to embed this report in a web page or a blog, you can make use of this embed option. So this iframe can be embedded in a page, and then you will be able to view this report. Here there are two options. One is access with login and without login. Whenever you generate an iframe or a URL under access with login option, the end user has to log in into Zoho Analytics to view this report. There are scenarios where the user might not want to log in into analytics but still want to see the report that are generated in analytics. So in that case, you can generate it using access without login. If you want to protect it, you can set up an access password and an expiry date. So when you embed it in this mode, anyone who has access to this report will be able to see it without having to log in into analytics. The same goes with the permalink feature also. So rather than emailing the report or privately sharing a report, you can just share this link with them. So whenever they are going to access this link, they will be able to see the report, and this report will be the updated version. So whenever this data sync happens, all the reports and dashboards will be updated automatically. The end user will also be able to see the updated reports or dashboards when they use this link. And another point I would like to highlight here is this perma link can be shared with as many as users you want under this access without login option. Whereas when you share it under access with login option, the people who is going to access the report will be considered as a part of your user license. And the last option is generating a slideshow. So if you have a very big display unit in your organization, or you have some presentations coming up, or even the scenario where you want to share more than one report with the user, rather than doing it one by one, you can create it like a slideshow and share it with them. So all that you need to do is just select the set of reports that you want to include it as a part of your slide, and then click on save. So Zoho Analytics will generate a URL. This slide can also be posted in any of the social media platform directly from the analytics page itself. So you can copy this URL, and when you access this, you will be able to see the reports cycling through one after the other at a periodic interval. You can also define the slide interval. How often would you like to generate these slides? Okay, so I'm left with one last point, that is about creating variables, which is a very important point as well. So let me cover that up. To create a variable, so what is the purpose of variable is, you have 100 employees in your organization, so you keep sharing the reports with them every now and then. And each employee falls under a particular criteria. Okay, so it's highly impossible for me to go and enter the criteria every time when I share a report with a user. Rather, I can define it as a variable, and when I call that variable, whatever criteria I have passed in the variable will be applied to that user. So to create a variable, click on settings, and here you have this option variable, and you can select create new variable. The first thing you need to do is provide some title for this variable, lead owner or potential owner. You can give any value by default. And then here you can define the values to the user. So for instance, if the value is going to be David Lau, and the email ID is going to be this. And if it's going to be Augustine, the email ID is going to be this. So now what happens is, when I share this report with this user or with this user, in the lead owner or whatever value I'm mapping it to, it will show the data only corresponding to this criteria. Okay, so if you have a department and 100 employees under each department, you just give the department name and add all the 100 users here. So when you share a report based on the department name, if the department name is equal to marketing, whoever comes under this marketing criteria, for them the data will be shown only for that department. Okay, so what you do is you create a variable, click on save. Okay, I'll just make it as some name. Okay, now you go back to the report. Let's open the same dashboard. Okay, and you click on share. First option, share this view. So rather than entering the criteria, here you will go to variables. Okay, and then you will be selecting the potential owner. Let me choose that. It's just bear with me. It hardly takes some 3 to 4 more minutes to complete the presentation. So there's one last point. Okay, so potential owner equal to, you give this criteria. So what happens is, whatever criteria you pass, that will apply here. And you don't have to worry about passing criteria every time. Okay. Okay, all right. So this is all about the features and functionalities of Zoho Analytics. I have a couple of more points to be covered in the presentations. Let me take you back to the presentation again. So one important thing is about the pricing. Zoho Analytics comprises of 4 different pricing models, starting from basic till the enterprise edition. The Plans are priced based on the number of users and the volume of records that you have. So the basic plan starts at $25 per month, whereas the next plan is a standard, which is for $50 per month, which offers you with 5 users and 1 million record, and the premium is for 15 users and 5 million record. Uh, Currently, we have some year-end offers going on where you get flat 25% discount if you're going with a yearly subscription. So you can choose to purchase an annual package if you are in the plan of going with the Zoho Analytics subscription. And we do offer 15-day of free trial for this product. So where you can choose any plan that you want to take up the trial for. And more importantly, I also want to highlight that Zoho Analytics also offers a white label solution. So in case you want to white label the product or go with the embedded analytics solution, you can drop an email to support@zohoanalytics.com. So one of us will get in touch with you to discuss in depth about your business requirements and assist you further. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the question box in the Showtime panel. And if you would like to reach our support team in the future for any assistance, you can make a note of these numbers. So our support team is available 24/5 round the clock. Either you can drop an email to support@zohoanalytics.com, or you can also reach us out through the direct contact numbers displayed on the screen. So I've also dropped a webinar feedback form in the chat box. I hope this session was helpful and informative. Do provide your valuable feedback using the form link that I've given there. And if you have any questions, you can drop it in the question box. We would be more than glad to assist you with your queries. I once again thank you all for taking part in today's webinar session. It was nice having you all in the session. Thank you so much and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.